And welcome. I am the database guy. Welcome back. Please like and subscribe. We are moving right along. We're up to presentation 6, video 1, and that really, it's not going to be a very long one, but it's connecting data part 1. So the reason we say this is because we're going to connect two files, a back end and a front end. You're going to see exactly what they are and how they work. And you've seen me sort of connect to files to external data, but you're going to see the reality of it here and how it works. And we're doing this without VBA. This is part 1. We're not, and realistically, when you design a database as a developer, you're going to have a connection string. And you saw one of them in my examples prior to this. Um, so the concerns are, can you do it without VBA and be successful with it? The answer is no, really you shouldn't. You should always refresh those tables, and we're going to see why. All right, so we're going to open up Access here, and we're going to go to, and this is a file I created. It's presentation 6 video 1 database and back end underscore. And all we have in here are tables, nothing more at all. Now, we can password protect our back end, but if we do this, well, you're going to see a little bit of that. But I'll bring it up probably later, but you're going to see when we connect with it with the front end, what's going to happen. And then when you run code, when we get to that portion of VBA code, you can embed that password within the code. It's not a problem. You don't usually want to do that, but once you convert your database from, and we spoke about this way in the beginning, from an ACCDB file to an ACCDE file, which is the executable file, all that code gets compressed in such a way that it is not able to be edited or viewed or anything else. It's just sort of not there. It makes the file run quickly, and it allows the end users to, or the developer to have security from the end users doing anything, and also from the end users being able to monkey around inadvertently in anything they can do. All right, so this is our back end, and we're gonna let's see. We're going to let's close it. File close. Um, let's create a new file. Our blank database, and we're going to call this one. Let's see, P6. Oops, sorry, 6V1 front end. So we're going to put this in our front end. We're putting this in our documents file. Now it opens up to a table. It always does that when you have a new database. As you can see, there's nothing in there. Nothing is in there. There's no objects. It is a pristine, blank, brand new database. That's what it is. All right. So we go to external data and we look for a new data source. We go from database and we go from access. Now we have options here. We can either import the data in, which is not what we want to do. I mean, what that really is if you want to bring the data from one database into another one as tables, queries, reports, forms, right? So if you wanted to copy a database, you might do this, all right? And modules, right? You could bring everything in. We don't want to do that. We want to link it. And we have to find the database in question. So let me see here. Let's see. Okay, it's here. All right, so we're going to connect to it here. Click open. And then we're going to go OK. And what we're going to get is this dialog here, which says to select the tables you want to link. And if we do a select all, well, that's what it does. And the deselect all, that's what it does. We could do it one by one. We're going to select all. We're going to cancel and stop the whole process. When we do, we see our linked tables. Now we go right into those tables. All right. And we will see the information that we have here, the publishers. Okay, right. And states as well. Now, let us go to our backend and let's look at the publishers. Now, I want to illustrate something interesting to you. The publishers here have a link to the books table, which has a link to the author, right? When we go to the front end, and I think you saw it briefly, if you were in our front end, there's nothing that the publishers is linked to. Nothing that the book authors is linked to. The books is linked to the author. All right, from book authors, and nothing here. So let's do this for a moment. Let's go to database and let's go to relationships. Actually, the relationships themselves are brought in. Now you might ask, why am I not seeing that with publishers? Why am I not seeing the link here that I saw in here? And if I go to database tools and my relationships, I have the same ones here. There's the states has been added here. And as you might have seen, it wasn't here. The only thing that was here is what's connected. If it's not connected, it won't be there. Yeah, save it. That's fine. So why didn't we get a connection here that we did in the back end? And what you find is publishers connected to the books, and then the books are connected to, of course, the authors. That when it goes to the front end as a link table, you will not need to worry about those connections in the front end. And the reason it's not there is because when we look at the relationships, okay, yes, publishers is connected to books, and then of course books is connected to authors and so on and so forth. We would expect to see, and let's see on books authors in our back end, which we would expect to see a connection there as well. And so let's go to books, and indeed we have that. Now over here, let's see on books, do we indeed have it? We do. In this case, we do. And book authors here, there's nothing. We go to book authors in our back end. Hang on. There we go. Nothing here as well. All right. So you might ask the question of why on earth did we lose a connection? You didn't really lose it. Let me be clear about that. So if I try to enter a book in my front end, this is my back end, sorry. My front end, I enter a book in here. All right, 1242 ABC test book. I don't know, 1971, and I enter 6. I'm going to get the same error, even though the connection isn't apparent from here, because it doesn't need to illustrate all of the connections. Just the only one is the books connection. Here to here. Going from here to here doesn't need to worry about that. And the authors as well. We don't see anything here for authors. Let's look at our back end for a moment. We should. Yes, we do. We see something for authors. So what's happening here is only the main table in question, where the connections are in the front end, which is books, and it has more than one connection, is going to be the one that is going to show those connections. So going back to books again, we have authors, and so as well. And so I could create a book without the author, probably wouldn't do anything. That's fine. You don't need the author to create the book. But you'll find here that that's a little quirk about this, little nuance in it. You don't need to worry about it. You're basically what it's telling you is your main table is the only one I need to see a connection to. And if we look at that book's connection here, it's only authors. Right, let's see in the back end if it were the same, and I think it probably will be, but let's see. Yes, authors as well. So, in the front end, we only need to worry about that. Now, you notice when we ran through this, right, it didn't ask for any password. We're going to go to Link Table Manager, which is really, you can do it one of two ways. Again, right-click on a link table and go to Link Table Manager, or you can go up here in the little ribbon, go from External Data to Link Table Manager, right? And refreshing it is fine. If we select Edit to it, you'll see the password information appear. I don't believe it appeared, and we'll do it again just to do as a fail-safe for you, just so you know. Delete these tables, yes we will. And if we go to the External Table Manager, the Link Table Manager, now you see it went away. It's gone, there's no link tables, all right? So we're going to go back here again and link, and we're going to browse, and we're going to look for that particular back end, which is here. We're going to go OK, select all, OK, and we're back in. Now, again, selecting it under Edit, what you're going to see is this is where the password will come about. I want to password protect the back end. Let's look into that so that we can see that. Go to our back end, close this. Now, how do you create a password for your back end? So in our ribbon here, let's see. These are for database tools. Let's see, I believe it will be under file. Let's look at options. So let's see, and you can see the options here, my initials, my name, and so on and so forth. Where it's located, it's a legacy. In the current database, let's see. We don't have an application title or icon just yet. You're going to see that way down the line. See if I remember. You can always go to help. Password. Let's see. I don't remember. Set database password, and there it is. You must have the database open for, okay, so in order to do that, File tab, clicking Open, Browse, and then click the arrow and select Exclusive. So this is a little nuance on this one too. Yeah, so right, so we have to do this in exclusive mode. Let's close this one down and come into our menu. And I think it's under Documents. Let's see. Yes, it is. We've got to right click. Let's see. Um, Show more options. So let's see. Let's go and just open it for a minute and because it wasn't this difficult. Set database password. Oh, we do it from here. Wow. Yeah, so we have to do it from here. We're going to close it. File open. Actually, let me see again what they said. It's been a while Since I've done one of these, I don't normally set a password because there's no real need to do that. Um, yeah, so we're going to close it. See if we've got this one. In browse. So in browse, under documents, and let's see. There we go. And there it is here. And down here is where you open an exclusive. I forgot about that one. When you do that, now you're in exclusive mode. Now we're going to go password and set database password. And now it'll open this up. Now where this is here, I'm just trying to think where it's located. Let's it may be. Let's see if it's under. Nope, nothing there. Nothing there. No. Thought it would be under database tools, but maybe under here. Split. No. Okay, there's actually a splitter, an auto splitter. I don't ever use it. You gotta be careful with that. Let's see. So, well, all right. I'm not sure of where it is located exactly. You see here, there's certain things you cannot do anymore when you're in exclusive mode. Create. Yeah, these are all application parts. Okay, blank forms and things like that. Yeah, I don't see it here. All right, in any event, where I'm just going to do it here to show you. So we set a database password. You're not going to know what it is because it's going to be encrypted, I believe. Let's see. Yes, it will be. So we'll type one in. Got to be careful I remember it, otherwise I'll lock myself out. All right, and we rewrite it again the second time to confirm it. Okay. I think I don't have it. Same here. Let's try it again. That's why I don't like passwords. You got to make sure you get it right each and every time. Here we go. See if it matches in length, and it does. Encrypting will, with a block option, is incompatible, is ignored. Okay, so if I go back in here and go to password, yeah, then I'll have to enter it in to, if I hit OK, it's going to say, no, it's not the right password, not a valid password. So what you do is to get rid of the password, you would, we're going to do it here just to show you, and it gets rid of it. So when you go back in the second time, now you got to enter it again. So in other words, once you set it, it's set. Once you go in to set it a second time, you're actually unsetting it. So you know. And we're going to set it just for the sake of argument, because I need to demonstrate something to you. Okay. And it's just about encrypting it with the block cipher is incompatible with row level locking. Row level locking will be ignored. So I believe it is the way I'm doing this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it one more time and not have certain characters in it. I think that might be what it is. Let's see. All right, let's might give me the same message. All right, we'll go take out the character there, and it's going to give me the same message anyway. So in other words, what it's telling you here is it's not going to lock the rows with this type of encrypting, the rows in the tables. Not a big deal. All right, so we're going to close this. Now, we're in the front end. Go to Link Table Manager. You open up this little plus here, you'll see all the tables, and then you can click to select them all, and then hit refresh. Now let's see what happens. Not a valid password. It's looking for a password, doesn't see it. So, what you must do is edit and put your password here. Now, it's interesting. Okay, I'm going to put my password in. Now, if I hit edit again, all right, it doesn't see the password. Let's see if I can refresh, and I can refresh. Now, if I select it again and I hit refresh, it's going to be fine. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is close my front end, file, and open it again. Well, my front end, thank you. Enable the content. What happens is, I don't know if it's blocked. I'm going to show it to you in a minute. Let me just see from here. We go to the front end here. It's actually open. If we go to properties, it isn't blocked. Sometimes you'll see a block down here. If you ever send something to someone, that will be the case. Now we go to our link table manager. We select all here, and let's see what happens. And it now knows. It now knows. So let's see. If I edit here, the password is already saved and encrypted. So what are some of the issues you will have without using VBA? Well, opening it each time would refresh it. So it's not a concern. But working within it, um, you know, you always want to have the data refreshed upon opening it. Typically, when you open it, uh, well, I should take a step back. When you open a database where there's a connection like this, it isn't automatically refreshed. It can be, but you have to make sure it is refreshed. And so one of the things you have to do is to create code to refresh it. We're not there yet, right? We're not up to that point yet. But here, right? As you can see, the data is there, right? The data is there. And this is how you would operate, all right? Um, and again, the point is here, again, you may lose connection or not have the best connection in the world. So each time when you go into your database and you refresh it, you reestablish that connection. And when I get to that, I'm going to get to the parts of what you need to do that. Now, the code, I would have to go through it at some point, and that is going to take a more, and that's why I have this set out so far in your coursework. It's really after we hit all the advanced VBA, because in order to understand that code, right, you need to understand everything you can about Visual Basic for applications. So we got to hit forms and reports first before VBA is even touched. And again, these here pointing become your connected databases. Now I want to open up another one and show you an example. And I think I showed you this one prior. This is one of my clients' databases, and I'm going to go to the tables. So you can see we have these tables here are local. They're front-end tables, they're temp tables and other things. One of them is my connection sources. I'm going to open it up and show it to you. I don't think there's anything. Yeah, okay, so that's good. You can't get into it anyway if you wanted. And here are my SQL link tables. So if I were coming into the new data source and I was going from, I could do it from SQL Server, but I do it from the ODBC. And then what I would do is link those tables, again, not import them. And I would select my machine data source, which I have designed. I'm going to get into that at some point in time and show you how you design that machine data source. All right, and hit OK, and it's going to ask me for my password, which hope I got it right. Let's see. I apparently did, and I'm back to this thing here now. I on this when I'm doing SQL, you'll see the save password here. All right. Um, what I'm going to do is connect one here and do a save password. And let me connect something that is not. Let's see. Um, it's not something that's going to be an important table that we need to, that the data would be something I'd be worried about you saying. Um, Notice here with SQL, you got information schema and system stuff. You don't want that in SQL, just to let you know ahead of time. We're going to do it with this one here. We're going to click OK. Yeah, save the password, let it be encrypted, and I've got to pick, this normally doesn't happen, but because of the way the gentleman who designed it didn't specify a unique record identifier. So there you see the difference, and I'm going to open this one here, and there's some building information here. We're going to get rid of this, of course, and delete, but actually, let's go to Link Table Manager, and you can see now, I have two here. Before I delete it, I have my access, and I have my ODBC, which is my SQL Server. And again, you could have them both in the same, but you would have to refresh both each and every time you open up your database. And by the way, as I mentioned earlier in an earlier video, these are your primary backend tables. This might be a table you're sourcing data from. So you need to make sure that you refresh that table routinely as the database runs. Otherwise, if it's updated, you may not be getting the most current data. I'm going to get rid of this. Now, when we delete here, we're not deleting the tables from SQL or from Access. It's just a link we're deleting. It says, yeah, get rid of it. We come back into our table manager, and there we are with just one. So you saw two possibilities there. The other things we can do, and you'll see this later on, I'll show you how to potentially link in an Excel table, or even import data from an Excel table in. I don't know when I'm going to show you that. So right now, we close this down, we open it up again from in here, and that's our front end here. Now we're not in exclusive mode anymore. So if we go to our password, I just want to, again, you must be in exclusive mode to do this. And again, to get to exclusive mode, File, Open, select the file, select Browse, I'm sorry. Select the file you're looking for, which is our front end, and here, and that's how you get into exclusive mode. I'm going to leave it with the password, um, just because, well, you know what? Well, just because I want to establish a password, because when you run the code, guess what? Your password will have to be in there and it won't be encrypted, but because the code is encrypted, it's fine. So that's how you do that. And now, going into it again, if I look at password, now it's going to ask me to set one. So let me just see. That's my front end, not my back end. Let me go to my back end. Boy, yeah, I could have set password for my front end too. You wouldn't want to do that on your front end. Let's go to the back end and show you. Again, now you have to enter it when you open your back end. Isn't this interesting? Let's look at it again. I don't want to rush too quickly so you see it. And I should have warned you on that. That's my front end. Sorry, opening up the wrong file again. Too quick. So we go to the back end, it's just here, and it asks for the password, and then you have to enter it. Right? That prevents people from getting into it. Now, in terms of security, I think a password's a good idea, and I think you should consider it. Um, you need to understand what you need for your end users. The only thing about a password is going to take your clients away from being able to do anything in that back end. Now, what about SQL Server? SQL Server may or may not be password connected. You saw my one client is. I have another client that is not. And some people don't want that because in true reality, nobody's touching the database except, you know, uh, verified users. And if they go into, the only way they can make changes to the back end is really going into the tables um, in SQL Server. Well, let me just show you one thing here. Let's go to external data again. Let's go from an ODBC and let's do this. Let's link this one table back again because I want to demonstrate something. And this is the reason why. I know this may be monotonous and repetitive, but the idea is I want to show you something interesting about access. And nope, got to get it right. All right. So let us take that building one. Let's save that password. And okay, we'll do that one. Yeah, we want to save the password. That's fine. And yeah, we got to create the something as a normally you in SQL Server, and I can show you how to create tables and stuff as well, which I will. At some point, I'll add it to the course. But you set as you do an access a primary key, you set a sort of a primary key in SQL Server. All right, so I want to see what would happen. Now, this is my back end. I'm sorry. Oh boy, I got to go to my front end and do this one. Let's close this down. Boy, that's the thing, making sure you're in the right file. All right, it's important. Here we go. So let's go again. It's good just seeing the process anyway. All right, and I'm sorry if I'm going on like this, but there we go. So, all right, and we get to this one. Yes, we want to save it. Now, you don't have to save a password. I've done it without saving it. But what you have to then do is write your code up front to refresh the tables with the password. So, it doesn't matter. One way or the other, you're going to have to address it. I'm going to right click on here and go into design view and look what happens. Because I have a link here, I can't do any change in design. All right. And as you see here, I can look at it, but I can't make a change to it. Let's see what would happen if I tried. And let's see. It can't change. Well, let's see what happens, and let's see if it'll even do it. I don't think it even did it, so I think we're okay. Let's see. Yeah, nothing there. Cancel. Whoops, sorry. Oh, no, no, no. No, I don't want to say that. Let's see. Did we get a third? I'm not seeing any other columns that we added, which is I think it was in the first one, the authors. So yeah, you can't edit. You cannot edit your tables in your front end. Nice. You can't change them. Let's see what happens with our SQL Server one. Same message, and of course we see this is all from SQL Server, by the way, and it's set up from there. So can't make any changes to any of that. I'm going to delete this here just to delete the link. So what did we learn? We learned that once you create links to data, yes, you can update the data, you can change it, you can do whatever you want to the data, but you cannot change the table structure. And it's extraordinarily important because once you start monkeying with the table structure, now you have fields in there that may or may not be required. You don't want that happening. As a developer, you want to set the structure as it should be for your client. Your client should be happy with it. And that's a benefit to having your front end like this, all right? Go to external link table manager. We're going to go to that for a moment. We're going to select and edit and see if we see our password encrypted, and of course it is. Now, we can expand all down here. We can collapse all here. We can select all or deselect all. We can select all. There are easy buttons at the bottom. We certainly could delete or add a table. Let's see what happens with the add. Well, we got to find the data source name. So we would have to have that, and let's select access. Let's go, well, we don't have the data source. I'm sorry, that's if it's SQL Server, but we select the data source either from here or we have it from here. You can, again, you're seeing here SQL Server or Azure, Access Excel, or of course custom. This would be something that I would be dealing with the SQL Server I just showed you. Let's go next. The file name and the password, right? So I could bring up another one. I don't have a password for this one. And let's see, finish. And now I could bring in another table from a different database without a password here. I'm going to cancel this, but my point to show you is that you could add, or if there were more tables in that back end, you could add more to your front end. You can get rid of some. You can relink. This one here basically reestablishes a link. Let's see what happens here if I select the same database. Again, I want to get the nuances to you. I'm hoping it won't establish two connections. And it's automatically populating, as you can see. So it won't do two connections of the same. It won't do that. But what it did on the relink is it created new links, all right, and refreshed them. I don't know if you remember from one of the videos earlier. Could have been my previous one. Let us see what happens. Access, browse. We're going to go to our back end. We're going to enter our password. All right. We're going to go finish. We're going to select table authors, and this is the point I wanted to make. If I select the exact same table from the exact same database, backend database, it's going to say, sorry, you can't have the same name. I'm going to name it with a number. If I do it again, I'll have authors 2, 3, 4, and 5, but it's the same table. There's almost no point to doing that. So we're going to select that one, and we're going to hit delete. Yes, we are. And let's see what happens when we close this. Now, when we close it, it goes away, which it should. So what we've noticed here right now, as we've learned it from here, is that we can link our tables, and we do that. We link we open up our front end, we create it fresh with nothing in it. We link our backend tables to it. It's the first step in database development in terms of designing the actual application. And we link our tables. We may need to have a password. We should password protect the backend. We just did that. And we need to have that password. Interestingly enough, Let's actually see, by the way. I didn't demonstrate that to you. I don't believe I did. Let's go to my link table manager. Let's select all and delete all. So when we close it, they'll all go away. We're going to go to our external and we're going to see what happens. I didn't have a password the very first time. I created the password in the back. When I connected the data to the tables for the first time, I didn't have a password, so I could connect them without problem. Went to the back end, created a password. Went to try to refresh them, it asked for a password, so I had to set it up in my edit. So we're going to do this again, and we should get a prompt for a password if we're correct. I want you to see everything in this because you need to understand this. All right, so, okay, and there it is. So if I already have a password established in my backend, it will ask for it. And we're going to enter it. As we do. Go right ahead. Now I'm going to select all here and go OK. Now, you may ask, hey, wait a minute, it didn't save the password. It didn't ask me like SQL did, and it won't. It knows. Under Edit, you'll see the password there. So it knows that there's a password already associated with that information. So if you password protect the back end of your database, you want to do that first before you link your data. If you don't, and you link your data and then you password protect your database, you must go in, select the connection, as we did, or the whatever that database is, which selects all of the tables. Edit, go into edit, and again, I'll show it to you here. So go into my manager, select my connection here, go into edit, and enter my password. Once I do it, it will save it. All right, so this, again, with Access, there's more than one way to skin a cat, and it's nice, but it's also confusing. So here's the flow I would go with, and I'll probably bring this up before I go into my next video with you on forms, but you should first password protect your backend, link your tables, enter your password, select your tables, finish the linking, and it'll save everything. With SQL Server, you're going to have your password regardless. So what's going to happen is, as you saw, I had to enter my password for the ODBC connection once, and then I could select all the tables I want, and I could save the passwords to them. And then, of course, we got that message telling us it won't lock the rows when you password protect in this way. Okay, so the big takeaway here, really, and the concerns would be, one, need code, I should say VBA code, to refresh table links on opening database. And also, I will say too, is need to password protect backend prior to linking. Linking. There we go. Prior to linking. When you get to code, maybe I can show you an example of that. I think I should. Let's go to that client's database. Yeah, here it is. You'll see here. I have my database, my user ID, my password. Again, this is not going to help you at all. You can't get to it. You have to have an IP address, and you won't know it. And your IP address has to be approved by the administrator. The server name, then we have the table names, the local table names, and of course, this DSN, which is another piece of information that locates what the database name of the database, which is Badger. The ODBC is what's in SQL. The local is what is going to be in the link. And interestingly enough, you see how it is here. Now, when Access looks at that, it cannot identify a period or whatever you want to call that. Decimal point period is a character. Probably a period's a better way to put that. It's going to have an underscore. It's going to interpret it as an underscore, a space. And you'll get into that information later on. All right. I do the same thing when, and this is going to happen when we do part 2 of this. I create a table as well. I don't know if I have one. I don't believe I do. That has one line in there, basically, that references where is the location of the file. So here's what's going to happen when we get to that coding, just to forewarn you. You won't, when you roll out a front end, you will not have it connected to the back end. And that's something you have to get used to thinking about. This connection won't exist, and there's a good reason why. What if the back end, the location changes, and it does happen? Okay, that's one. Number two, probably most important, when you version your front end, and again, you version it for upgrading capability. So, and I don't have that specified here, version 1 or version 2 yet. We're going to get into that when we get into the customization part of all of this. But you never want to, if I send out my database with these already connected, one of my challenges is going to be, well, I mean, when I say they'll be connected, but when I say that, I mean the pathway already established, okay? And I've done it in industry where I've said, okay, here's the front end. When you open it up, it's going to ask you for the back end pathway. Search for it. You'll have access to the shared drive. Locate that file, connect with it, and you're good to go. Generally, what you do is you leave these tables here, and you have a local table with the connection or pathway to the backend, where that backend's located. And you reconnect to it, or you connect to it, I should say, to be really careful in the first time. Second time, it'll be a reconnect or a relink, refresh, not a relink, but a refresh. And then all the tables will be refreshed. So what's the idea between a relink and a refresh? A refresh will just refresh the connections. A relink will reestablish the links to those tables. What I typically do is, this is left in my front end. When the user again opens up their new front end, it will ask them just once and only once, connect to that back end, and boom, you're off. If the back end ever changed for some reason or needed to be moved, you can then say to your users, I'm going to send you a new front end, or take the front end I sent you, the new one I sent you, before you copied it to your desktop. Delete the one you have, copy the new one, and here's the location of the new backend. Now, in practice, it should never change for ease for your users, because you won't want to make those changes. It should always be where it's located. When I was working in industry, we would have them on shared drives, network drives. If it were SQL Server, it would be located somewhere on a server within the complex, and the connection string would bring you to it, would bring you to it, and you would connect to it. And SQL Server, for example, if you're dealing with that, it never changes, all right, which is the good thing about it. And really, an Access backend should never change either. But if it did, this is what you would do. And when you roll out a new front end, each and every time, you're going to roll out that front end with no backend established. In other words, no connection to the backend, or I should say, no, the table where the backend path is located would be empty, and that's what you want. So you want them to reconnect, and you have your database, and you're good to go. And it's only once. And again, how often you upgrade it, maybe very infrequently. So, again, the final takeaways here are that when we're doing this without VBA, right, each and every time we open that database, we really have to refresh those links to be sure that we have the most current data, that we haven't broken connection with it, and that the back end is still where it is. We also need to make sure that it's password protected, that back end, and that prevents people from monkeying around within there. And we also said that we found out that you cannot change the design of any table here. Won't let you do it. Okay, will not let you do it. So this connecting really, and it really establishes how we want to set up the database from this point forward. And then once we add the VBA code, we will finalize that connection. So part 2, in a few weeks, whenever that is, will be involving, well, many weeks, I think, because the VBA code is going to be very large. We'll get to it. All right, so this really concludes it. Again, it wasn't going to be a lot on this one because there isn't much to talk about. When we come back, our next video, this should actually be, boy, I didn't even fix this one up here, 6.1 should be, and there we go. And we're going to come back on that one. Let me fix this. I just kind of cached it out very quickly. Will be forms, and we're going to, in our forms, we're going to create a first form, which is going to be our data entry form, and it will probably be just for, let's say, well, we can do a main form for books. Probably a data entry form for books will be the first one we'll do, and we will be tying in everything you see here, all right, to allow the user to select uh, um, or create a new book. Now, we're going to also add something in, which is a temp table. You're going to learn about your first temp table. And I want to just reiterate that before we close today. And the reason is I don't want people monkeying around in the main tables. I never like the idea. I've had an issue where tables can get locked, where people are editing things and so on. The temp table creates a luxury of saying, okay, I'm going to create this record, right? And I'm going to have a validation performed on it to make sure things are correct, right? So that when the data is appended, it will append correctly. When you think about this, I just want you to think about it before when we come back to that, which is going to be video or presentation 7, video 1. If we're adding books, as we do here, that's books authors, I'm sorry. We need to have things such as the publisher and the author information and how that's going to go, okay? So all of that in some way has to be incorporated into the main form. And I want to also bring you around to again, as we said here, we did create a table here and create a table there. There's 2 different ways. One opens the table and you can do the creation in there. The other one that puts it into design view and so on. We did the same thing for queries, but I didn't use a wizard. It's just a design view for queries. So you're going to also see that. Now you have 3 of them here, actually 4. There's a navigation form, and there's more kinds of forms here. We're going to show you what the form button does, the form design, and the blank form does. So if I go to form design, I'm in the design view. And if I go into blank form, you're going to see a blank form like this. I am going to want to go through them with you so you know exactly what these 3, actually 4 items do. But I'm not going to touch the wizard because the wizard, as I stated so earlier with all the wizards, when they create controls, they match up the control name to the field name. So you can have a circular reference. So the wizards you want to stay away from. I just don't like them. Right? I don't like them at all. But we're going to get there. So, as I say, please like and subscribe wherever you are. Have a great day. I hope this has been helpful for you. Practice it. Learn how to connect two files. You're going to have a back end and a front end. We're going to leave those as our working back end and front ends. Wherever you are, have a great day, evening, morning, whatever it might be. And please like and subscribe. If I haven't said that the third or fourth time, do it. This is all free to you. So enjoy and make sure that whatever life brings you, it's something good. All right.